This might seem silly for a Starborn, but right before I get that last artifact and pop on over to another universe, I like to take a stop at Terra Brew to just watch the world go by. See all the little differences swirl past, knowing that everything's gonna be all right. Sometimes it's a different crowd of people walking by, sometimes it's a new street performer doing their thing. It's oddly comforting to realize that all the little things don't really seem to matter. I don't buy anything, of course, but that doesn't stop me. A cosmic wizard with otherworldly time powers, from just sitting there taking up space like a bum for a few minutes of peace. I have a favorite chair. Most of the time it's in the exact same spot, but sometimes it's been shuffled to a different table. It doesn't matter. I sit in the same spot, not the same chair. It doesn't mean I still don't have a favorite. You see, what I also learned sitting at Terra Brew all those universes ago was that although the little things can change drastically, places always seem to be immovable. In time. Or so I thought. You see, this universe, I noticed something. My favorite Terra Brew wasn't there at all. I scoured every part of the city just to make sure it wasn't a location change. Even went to different planets to make sure the chain was still around. But no. In this universe, Terra Brew had mysteriously failed to materialize at all. It was the most chilling awkwardness I'd ever felt in my entire Space Wizard career. Where was I going to sit at the end of all this? Was I supposed to squat and watch the world go by? Was I supposed to drag a chair all the way from Constellation and pretend it had the same posterior contour of the crisp, light Terra Brew chairs? No, it wasn't enough. I couldn't abide a universe so cold as this. So I did the only thing a transcendent cosmic being of unimaginable warp powers could do. I started my own franchise. Space Nut, the galaxy's first nut-based macchiato bar/nightclub. You might be wondering how a macchiato could be nut-based, but in this universe, the macchiato hadn't been invented yet. So I made it whatever I wanted whenever anybody asked. Some days it was a mixture of nutmeg and aurora. Others, it was the jowl secretions from those big chicken monsters mixed with amp and hot chocolate. Whatever it happened to be on any given day, the customers lost their minds and went hog wild in the club. Space Nut became the most happening place in the settled systems. Everybody who was somebody and their grandmother were there. We were the life of New Atlantis, and everybody wanted a taste of our glory on the dance floor. But all was not well under this space wizard's mysterious visage obscuring space mask. For you see, there was one thing all the groovy glory of mixological fame and acclaim couldn't bring me. My old favorite chair. Every few days I'd try to dig up some leads as to where it might be in this universe. But as each foray into the back alleys of skullduggery turned up empty, I began to wonder if my favorite chair had ever been manufactured at all. Everyone always went on about how lovely the cheek rests at the club were on their posterior support units. But for me, it wasn't the same. There was something about the lopsided imperfection of that one little Terra Brew chair that warmed my heart, even as it chilled my ass. I began to realize that the little things really did matter. Maybe it wasn't about sitting in the same spot after all. Maybe it was enough just to know that my favorite chair was always there. Space Nut wasn't going to be enough anymore. Nothing was. I started to think perhaps I'd stumbled into the coldest universe of them all, for without one's most assured butt rest, what could one ever be sure of for sure? You know? I decided it was time to move on, hoping against hope that my favorite chair would be there for me in the next universe. Hoping against hope I hadn't burned through all the universes where Terra Brew existed at all. Before I move on to another universe, I like to sit at Terra Brew and watch the world go by. Sometimes I'm sitting in my favorite chair. Sometimes I'm awkwardly squatting next to a table. It doesn't really matter. The little things never really do they?